Welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast, where trauma survivors become healthy thrivers. Each month, we'll feature a theme in the trauma recovery and empowerment field. To promote your recovery, healing, and learning how to build dreams, here is your host, Karen Robinson, transformational coach and therapist.
Welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast. My guest today is Tina Andrews. Tina is an educator, a lawyer, and an entrepreneur. She's the director of Adore Family Services, an agency that she founded to provide foster care services to children in need. Tina was born and raised in North Wales, Pennsylvania. She graduated from Howard University with honors and a degree in education, minor in special education, and she went on to teach in Texas. Ms. Andrews graduated from Villanova Law School, trained under a family law judge, and distinguished herself as a family lawyer, winning custody for men who deserved custody of their children. Tina also became a strong advocate for disenfranchised families involved with child protective services, ensuring that they are afforded due process and justice. And Tina, I know your bio is so much longer, but I don't want me talking so much. I want you talk. So thank you so much for being a guest on my show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Now, Tina is not only a podcast guest with us today, she is a highly respected and welcomed sponsor and speaker of the Finding Your Confidence After Trauma Summit. Tina, have you always been somebody with confidence?
No, in fact, I've always felt like I've had that thing that they call imposter syndrome. I was accomplishing a lot of different things, but not feeling like I really either deserved them or could fit into that mold.
Yeah. And I know that's a common thing that happens when there's a history of trauma or a lot of stress. And as the people I work with are complex trauma survivors, are survivors somebody that you relate to? And if so, is there a small story that you're willing to share today?
I do relate to survivors. I feel a lot of empathy for survivors, knowing what I've gone through in my life. So I definitely feel a connection. And even in the workplace, in my staff, people that I hire, I sometimes get very attached to people who have gone through a lot and look to see how I can help them professionally to get past what they've been through and build themselves professionally.
Yeah. And you certainly don't have to, Tina, but it helps if you are willing to be a little vulnerable and share something hard that you've gone through and overcome. And again, you don't have to, but it just makes you relatable.
I think one of the things that I've gone through or have had a lot of difficulty in is in relationships
Yeah.
with males. And I have a history of domestic violence in my family. So I grew up with that. And then in my own relationships, it felt like I just continued that and felt like that was acceptable. It felt like I was drawn to men who were violent and engaged in domestic violence. It took me quite a long time to realize that and to step away when I saw the signs. Because at one point, I thought that it was okay and that I would get through it or I could deal with it because I saw members of my family live through that. So I think I really felt it's a part of a relationship and I normalized it. And like I said, it took me a very long time to realize that domestic violence is not okay.
Yeah.
And even in my line of work with families that have children removed from their homes because of domestic violence, it's become even more apparent to me the seriousness, the consequences, how it comes out in behaviors with children and adults and myself. Yeah, so my experiences with domestic violence have been significant.
Yeah, and I know it's really not easy to talk about, so I have a lot of gratitude that you're sharing it because you are someone that looks and not looks it, but your background, your bio is very strong. You're a lawyer for goodness sake, and You own a foster care agency. You clearly at some point got yourself together. And so sometimes it's hard to relate to people who look all polished, right? So for you to share, ooh, I've had some big bumps. Like I grew up in the family system where there was some damaging things, and then I went on and repeated the patterns. I think that makes you just so relatable, right? It can happen to any of us. Any of us could wake up in a bad situation with domestic violence if we don't believe in ourselves and believe that we actually deserve it even, right? Which sometimes happens. So I know that you're on a path to healing. What does the path of healing mean to you? Like how did you stop attracting or dating men that were violent? What do you do for yourself instead?
Let me say, I want to step back a little bit because I remember the moment when I was in law school and I did a like internship with domestic violence. And I was meeting with a woman who was dressed in a suit, and she had been through this process a couple of times. And my thought was, my immediate thought was, why didn't she just leave? Which was really strange coming from me when I look back on it, because I grew up with it. But when I was in that internship and worked with that woman that was in a suit, it hit differently. I first thought, why didn't she leave? But then helping her go through the process, then it started to make sense.
Yeah.
What was happening, what the alternatives was, what the thought process was, and everything. For me, it, I just continued through all the trauma and all the little situations that I was going through. I found myself just pushing through without even acknowledging it, dealing with it, processing what was actually happening. I just pushed through. And it just took a long time for me to realize that I really needed to process what has been happening with me, because I'm in a position where I'm working with families, I have staff, I'm working with children, and I'm seeing all these things. And in foster care, when we train foster parents, one of the things we always say, for instance, if a foster parent has gone through sexual abuse or something like that and they've never dealt with it, we say you can't be a foster parent, because until you've dealt with it, you won't know how to help a child deal with it. And one of the things we don't want is for the child to push through like I did for the most part. We want them to be able to process what is happening to them or what has happened to them so that they can heal, give them the ability or the opportunity to heal. So it's really important to me that I've dealt with or am dealing with a lot of the things that have happened to me so that I can effectively work with the population that I work with.
It's one thing to think you know something in a professional capacity, but when you live it too, you really have an intimate, and that's why I feel that I'm so talented, for lack of a
Mhm.
better word, with working with complex traumas because I lived complex trauma. I'm
Mhm.
also a survivor. And so what happens with our work, you and I come to our work with both personal and professional experience. And I think
Yes.
that means a great deal to people. We get it. We get what a crappy day feels like emotionally, mentally, physically. We've had a lot of physical things that have happened with our
Mhm.
health. Spiritually, we know what the struggle is, so we have more compassion for other people when they go through it. Would you agree with that, Tina?
I do. I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mm.
And so now that you're on a healing journey, which, I believe that you're on where I know you a little bit, how have you been working on becoming a more confident person, personally and professionally? How is that working for you?
It's a struggle because, like you said, I appear confident. On paper, there's a lot to be proud of that I've accomplished. So it's still a struggle sometimes
Yeah,
to
it's
be,
honest.
yeah, it is. It's still very much a struggle to stand 10 toes deep into confidence, you know.
Give us
Um,
a couple tips because you're doing something right. You're still going to work, aren't you?
a lot of my confidence comes from my experience and from, especially in the workplace, knowing what I do. That's the biggest confidence booster that I have. Being able to speak confidently about what I do, what I know, and not questioning, being comfortable with what I know.
So you stopped questioning your decisions so much. You have a little more trust in your skills since you've been doing this for a minute. Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that kind of came from the environment too. With foster care, I have a group of amazing colleagues that I've been able to go to over the years that help us stay in business for 16 years. So having those colleagues has really been great and has boosted my confidence because they've supported me and I support them. So in the workplace, the confidence is there. Personally, I still struggle personally with confidence with issues like my weight, with it fluctuating and not feeling comfortable sometimes in clothing, things like that. That's an area that I think is really even more important, being happy with who I am,
Yeah.
being comfortable with who I am, whether my clothes are a little snug or not, just being much more comfortable. And so I'm aware of that. And I think about that all the time. When I'm struggling and I'm looking in the mirror and I say, this isn't quite fitting the way, I just straighten up my back, throw my shoulders back, and say, okay, this is me. This is
That's
who I
right.
am. Yeah. I really have to do that a lot. I'm like, okay, this is me. This is who I am. It may change. I might want it to change, but today this is who I am, and I have to pick that head up and keep on going.
I love your share. And I'm getting more excited about the summit now because I can think of two speakers I interviewed this week that are speakers of the summit. One of them is a stylist, and
Hmm,
she's been every size. And she talks about that, the
okay,
confidence of dressing for your size. And she's just so crazy confident. I love her. She's my stylist, and she's
really?
local to both of us. So I probably have to introduce the two of you. She
Oh
lives
yeah.
in Maryland. And then so she's talking, and then another speaker, she's a larger woman, and she does burlesque dancing for fun.
Oh
And
wow.
she's
I
so
could get into
confident.
that.
She's so confident and beautiful, and we travel in the same circle. So I recently got to take one of her dance classes for fun with a bunch of women on a cruise ship. And I did not know I would have as much fun as I did. It
Really?
was so fun, and I felt confident and playful and sexy. So I can't wait for you to get a little introduction with the two of them during the summit.
Oh,
And
I'd
all
love to meet
there's
them.
other, we all sometimes confidence is basically how our mood is that day, right? Sometimes we
Right.
feel more confident than other days, but a lot of the speakers have different tips and takes on how to be more confident. So I think you're going to really enjoy it too.
Oh, I'm excited.
It's going to be a really good time.
Yeah.
And Tina, and maybe too, when sometimes you've had a lot of stuff come up lately, and we're not necessarily going to talk about that, whatever comes up. But we have these seasons of life where there's more stress. If there's staff turnover or family drama going on, it's hard to get confident when we're like hit with storms or if we have health challenges. But I want to hear because I still, despite everything that's happening, I see you as a very confident, established woman. I think I'd love to see you step into that more. And I also would love for you to share even more tips. You shared about you trust yourself more. I love
Mhm.
that. What other tips do you have? And this could be about your spiritual life, your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, how you cope with relationships. It could be boundaries. What else helps with getting a little more confident, in your opinion?
Taking a moment and praying when it's really difficult. You mentioned about things in the office, like staffing, when things happen that feel very traumatic in the moment. I try to remain results oriented. So, thinking, what do I need to do to get this done? or to keep things going. So I'm constantly in a mode of just trying to make sure that we're in a position to maintain the status quo, or how to work around if we're one person short, do I have a good team that can step in? And so I've been able to develop that. That helps. That's a big thing. That's a big help, having
Really big.
people, having the team. And it hasn't always been like that, but when you find them, it really helps.
Yeah. It's huge. Huge. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I just lost my train of thought in terms of where
I just would encourage people that are listening to us is when you find, if you're an entrepreneur, and a lot of my listeners are, because when you're an entrepreneur, you get to leave oppressive work environments, which is awesome for survivors, right? Because a lot of agencies and institutions are very oppressive for women and minorities and for lots of reasons. And so
Right.
when you have some team members or staff that you can trust, I would encourage you to lean into that and celebrate when that happens.
Absolutely, absolutely. But then in the same time, if those people that you can trust let you down, that can be traumatic
Yeah.
in dealing with that. But
How do you
building,
heal from that? I know you went through something like that. How do you heal?
I've been relying on the rest of my team members because it seems like not everyone knew what happened and what it meant to me, or the relationship, how deep the relationship was with that particular staff member, but everyone knew what needed to happen in
Yeah.
terms of making sure that the agency was okay, that our families were okay, that our children were okay. So, that took a lot of therapy, talking about it, getting it out, writing it out. That worked really well to be
You're
able to,
doing the work.
yeah.
Tell us, we only have a couple minutes left, Tina. Talk to us about your company, the name, the website, and how does it fill your cup to do this meaningful work?
Karen, I feel like I've come full circle with the door because I started out teaching elementary school, then I became a lawyer, and I started working with families. I took in a child as a foster child. Her mother was my client at the time. So I've always wanted a lot of children. I wasn't able to have a lot of children, so I just have two daughters. So I always loved being around children. And in working with families that were where their children were being removed and trying to help them, it really filled my cup to be able to keep families together as much as possible. So working with families and working in foster care, I've brought it all together, completed a circle because I teach, we do trainings, I help families, foster families with the process of being a foster parent because it's really difficult. I get to help the children. I spend a lot of time playing with the children sometimes too, when I get to bring them to the office and we plan events and things like that. So I use a lot of the skills that I have with helping our families and our children in foster care. So it's become my passion. It's always been my passion working with children and making sure that they're okay and that the families have what they need and that the children have what they need, and hopefully that the children are reunified with their families because that's important. And if they're not reunified with their families, that we've created a family for
Right.
them, good support base for them. Yeah, it's been a passion, definitely a passion that I've developed and I've enjoyed. I get my best moments out of working with the families. And when I'm not able to work closely with the families, it becomes more of just a job. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So I like being in the trenches, you know, working with the families, visiting them, visiting the children, in addition to that administrative part. But that administrative part gets a little boring. It's just enjoying being
Right.
around our families and children.
As someone who was in the foster care system, ended up with a guardian. I didn't actually live in a foster family. My aunt and uncle became my legal guardians when I ran away from home. But I also worked in the adoption field and I adopted a child. So I have a lot of, and I've had a lot of foster care children in my counseling over the years. I was a school social worker for a while. I've worked with foster care families, adoptive families. And I've worked with birth mothers who've placed their children up for adoption because they simply felt like they could not care for their child, either because of medical, mental health, substance abuse, poverty, like all the things, right? So I have a lot of respect for the work that you do. Thank God that there's people like you that come along and create agencies so children can find safe families to live in while their birth families are hopefully trying to get themselves together for whatever they're going through. So, Tina, thank you for the difference you make in the world. I hope if life is so bumpy, I hope that on a hard day you can just pat yourself in the back and dang it, I make a difference in this world. Even when it's hard, I do it.
That's the goal. That's always the goal. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Okay, thank you for being on my show today.
Thank you, Karen. Have a good day.
Thank you for listening in today. Please join us next week, same day and time. Also, I would love for you to check out my website, healthrivedream.com.